Hey gang, I got a new video for you here. It's another portrait study, and I am talking about how I'm using reference to work on these and how it might be helpful for you to kind of think about some aspects of using reference, both of images of if you're doing people and also references for your style that you're trying to achieve to help you grow. So take a look. Okay, thanks guys for joining me again on my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you the process of painting this or illustrating this portrait. Um, I've been kind of curious about trying to do these portrait pieces lately, kind of applying some of the learning that I've been doing around proper proportions, using the Riley method and the Loomis method, and some of the stuff that I've read in Bridgman's um, guide to figure drawing, and also figure drawing invention. What's it called? Design and invention. Figure drawing, design and invention. So these are sort of an exercise in finding really solid reference. So working from really good photography. So really nice portraits with nice lighting and good structure and everything compositionally. And then also using that reference to challenge myself to apply the proportional methods, but then also working on them sort of with a goal in mind. And my goal with these is to create something that I feel is reflecting a direction that I'd like to go stylistically with portraiture specifically, and also just trying to understand how contemporary illustrators might handle portrait. So in specifics, right now I've been really inspired by Phil Noto's work, and so what I'm doing in these portraits is sort of combining solid reference with of the photograph with solid reference of style. And so what you'll see is I sort of build out the structure of the drawing based on the reference that I'm looking at. And how I'm doing this is sort of using those proportional methods, which you can see in some videos that I've done previously. I'll put a link here. And I'm applying those methods here, and then also sort of doing some measuring on the portrait itself over the top of the photograph, so you can kind of see some of the lines that I've put there. Even sort of things like, where does the angle from, you know, in this case you can see on the right side of her mouth, I drew a line kind of running up horizontally, sorry, on an angle, and it kind of runs through the corner of her left eye. And that just is kind of just helping me sort of get a structure for where features are lining up. Now, one of the things I'm doing in these is being a little bit looser in my interpretation of the photos, because I want to treat them sort of painterly and loose in some respects, and more of a study / illustrative approach. So how that works is sort of starting with this underdrawing, which you can see me working on here, and then applying the colors underneath. One other note is I'm using all of brushes, all the brushes I'm using are from the Kyle brushes set, which I will put a link in my description of where you can find those. Some really beautiful brushes for painting and Photoshop. A majority of you are probably aware of those already, but I'll put a link nonetheless. And so here you can see on the left hand side of my artboard, I've brought in 3 pieces that Phil Noto has done in the past as a stylistic and also a color reference chart almost for myself. So I've got a video on style that I talk about sort of developing style as well, and I'll put a link for that here as well. But what I want to kind of point out here is that I think it's okay as illustrators for us to sort of lean into specific styles or specific directions sometimes. In my style video, I talk about how it's important for us to sort of let go of trying to be like other artists, and that through that process we'll be able to find our own voice. But there is also a part of that journey which I believe requires us to reflect on works previous or look at things that inspire us, and then bring that into our palette, so to speak. So in this case, I'm riffing off of Phil Noto quite directly. I mean, when you see the finished piece, you can see the influences there in their entirety. But it's a good exercise and a good process because I find his work delightful. It's got a real simplicity to it, but it's beautiful in its simplicity, and it's very descriptive in its simplicity. So I'm sort of examining through this process of doing these portraits, how is he breaking down the visual language into something that's quick and efficient and beautiful. And so I'm trying to learn in my own work how to communicate things in that fashion. So I'm sort of deconstructing his work in a way in order to help myself understand better how to deconstruct my own processes to a place where it'll hopefully sort of integrate into my processes, and then down the road I'll be able to, work on a piece like this from my own place without kind of referencing directly back to his work. So it's sort of like picking up a new dialect, so I might learn to speak French, but until I go live in the streets of Quebec, I'm not going to speak French the way that they would speak it specifically. But if I live there for a while, I'll start to pick up nuances of the language and the way that they talk. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do here in a visual language sense, is trying to sort of graft some of his sensibilities onto my own work. And then hopefully those sensibilities will transpose themselves into my work on a whole. And I think that's a really good exercise, and it's totally okay to do when you're growing and trying to learn. Because let's be honest, there's many people that have come before us who have done this before and done it better than we have. And there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. Let's lean on the giants before us and hopefully grow and become better in our own right. So I hope that kind of gives you some food for thought and some things to think about. And I hope that sort of watching this process and how I produced this has been fruitful for you too. If you have any questions, or if you guys have any thoughts on this kind of a process, I'd love to hear it in the comments. And thanks very much for watching, guys. Be good to each other. So I'm going to be trying to make my YouTube channel a little bit more accessible. I'm going to be asking you, if you'd like, you can click one of the links on screen to watch a video that you haven't seen. If you'd like to subscribe, please click the subscribe button. And if you would like to leave a comment, I would appreciate it. I will check in with you guys next time. All right, take care.